Grand rising, grand rising, grand rising. Peace and love to the Wu community. Grateful for your presence here today. It is your brother Kamau Ptah here for part 2 of our powerful discussion, Ancient Wisdom for the Modern World. Welcome everyone coming in. Welcome Facebook family. Welcome to our community Zoom family. I see you coming in, Doreen, Sister Doreen, welcome. Sister Desiree is in the virtual building. Sister Sharonda, all right. Sister Kaisha, welcome all who are present. Get yourself some water, get you some tea, coffee, bring your journal, a notebook, some paper to write on. Today, we're going to look a little bit deeper at the topic, Ancient Wisdom for the Modern World, Radical Rituals for Healing, Transforming and Expanding Consciousness. So, right, we're going to be in part 2. We got a grand overview last time, and this time around, we're going to go and we're going to be focused mainly on elemental immersion rituals. All right, glad that you are in the space to Dr. Kennebro. Good to see you. All right. And we are grateful for everyone's presence. You are all here, and we're going to co-create this space together. Grateful that you are here to be able to lend your voice, because you are truly a gift to the space. So bring all aspects of yourself today. Bring your aspirations, your visions, your divine calling, and your mission and purpose, as well as some of those things that might show up as fears and insecurities and doubts. We want to bring all of that to the space and concoct a medicine that allows us to continue to move forward in the sacred work of purpose and gifts.
Wake up everybody, it's time to get up. Wake up everybody, it's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke, it's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke, it's time to get up. We're healing, we're dealing, we're growing. Together, together, releasing. We're teaching, we're moving. Together, together, we're learning, discerning. We're striving. Together, together, we're leading, connecting, transforming. Together, together.
Kamau, you're muted.
Okay, grand rising, peace and love family. Once again, my name is Kamau Ptah, and welcome to the Wu community. We're continuing to ascend, evolve, and expand. And today we are really going to be focused on the concept of this ancient wisdom for the modern world, radical rituals for transforming and expanding consciousness, right? And for those who don't know me, my work is centered around rites of passage and initiation, and really serving as a consultant to help people identify where they are in their rite of passage journey, put their hands on their own pulse around some of the initiations that are currently taking place that might not be formalized, but are and all actuality still trials that are calling us and inviting us to a higher sensibility around who it is that we are, continuing to identify and locate whose we are as we continue to, focus on cultivating purpose and our gifts, right? And today is again really centered around the area and revisiting where we left off. So there'll be a brief review as we move forward, so that we all are grounded in the same frameworks, and then we'll continue to expand on the concept. But in order for us to get ourselves right, get ourselves centered for this dawning, I call you and I invite you now to participate just in a ritual of acknowledgement, right? So if you will, please just extend your hands to the heavens, and we acknowledge the creative force. We invite the creative force that lives in us, moves through us, and operates all around us. By whatever name that we acknowledge this divine force, we welcome the presence as we co-create this powerful experience of remembering. Put our hands and face them to the earth. Say we acknowledge our ancestors. We invite our ancestors into the space, those whose shoulders we stand on, those whose ideas we continue to build, those who continue to inspire us, those whose memory lives within us, moves through us. And we call on our ancestors to be present today as we continue to look at radical rituals for healing, transforming, and expanding consciousness. Put our hands to the side. We acknowledge all of creation. We acknowledge the earth, the water, all of the forests, all of the air that we consume, the spirit and the elements. We acknowledge those forces as they live within us and are reflected and magnified outside of us. We welcome all of creation into the space as we are one and we are connected with the divine through all of the material world. Lastly, we put our hands, grip them, put them over our heart. We say we acknowledge the power within. We acknowledge the divine intelligence, the qualities, the attributes. We acknowledge our personal narratives and all of the blood memories that live inside of us. We acknowledge the elements inside of us. And we acknowledge the qualities and the voice that continues to have a desire to emerge through us. We acknowledge our becoming. We say Ashe. Thank you. All right. So with that, we're going to get started, and just by setting a little bit of a context for today around this idea. We are still very much in what I've considered and called a global initiation, where it is that we've been taken away from some of the things that we've identified as norms, stripped away from all of the somewhat of the comforts of whether it's dysfunctional norms or norms. We have been all called to a greater opportunity and invited to really put our hands on ourselves and on our pulse to really get a sense of who it is that we really are. And so with that, it takes on an informal initiation. Many of us in the Wu community have recognized the opportunity that this is a great invitation to continue to ascend and grow, and to really take a deep look and a deep dive into the powers of who we are and to begin to live from that place. Personally, I have done the same, and like many members of the Wu community have found a sense of rebirth and a reconnection so that we're able to, as a community, evolve and continue to expand and grow and find a new sense of meaning and purpose within our lives, right? And so, today is our focus is taking a strong look at this idea of radical rituals that we spoke about. And the elder teacher who's recently transitioned and is an ancestor now, Elder Maladoma Patrice Somé, from the Burkina Faso, the Gara ethnic group, brought to us a lot of wisdom, brought to us a lot of his indigenous ancestral spiritual technology that has been introduced in the way of initiation to help us to begin to the act of memory, restoring memory, remembering who it is that we are, remembering some of these gifts that lay dormant, but may not be able to find expression in the modern world. So through these initiations and some of the learning opportunities that he's created, I've benefited from being able to do that. And he had this notion called, this idea called spiritual militancy. And with that, I would like for us to entertain and begin thinking about what that means to be a spiritual militant. All right, but before we get started, we're going to invite some voices into the space. I would like for us to reflect a little bit on just our last 24 hours, right? And the question is, what rituals did you participate in within the last 24 hours? And how is that ritual benefiting you in this moment right now? All right, and when we're thinking about rituals, I want you to think about all of the areas of your life. It could be something that's sacred, profane, mundane, right? The rituals that you do on your day-to-day that you might not even consider to be a ritual, right? Reflect a little bit and put in the chat, you know, within the last 24 hours, what rituals have you participated in? And, you know, talk a little bit of how it might be benefiting you right now, all right? So wait for that. In the meantime, you know, what I'll do is share the rituals. You know, I've been for maybe the last 2 to 3 weeks, just was called to do some Tai Chi in the morning, right? And so I didn't do any heavy research. I just, you know, typed into YouTube Tai Chi for 10 minutes. And I came across an elder, Dr. Wu, and, you know, he says 10 minutes Tai Chi for 100 days. So I'm taking that challenge. And, you know, I've maybe started around 3 times already. So my 100 days keeps on extending back. But for the most part, I've been, you know, showing up and really being able to participate within the ritual. So again, what have you been doing? I have a daily before I get my day started. You know, I do some journaling. I do some invocations. I do some gratitude. I do some affirmations, and, you know, all before getting started and engaged with my work. Right. So anybody, you know, in the chat, or if you would like to share and come off mute, we have anyone within the chat that we would like to share some of the rituals that people have been doing. And yeah, so administration, do we see any hand? I see a sister, Queen Mother Amal has her hand up.
Every morning, I always say I wake up, I do Japanese tea ceremony. There's a group of us that comes on every morning at 5:30. Japanese tea ceremony, yoga, chanting, and then meditation for 25 minutes. Every morning as the crow flies.
Thank you, Mama Amal. Can you share a little bit about that tea ceremony? What does that entail?
Yes. Okay, so the sister. Okay, so the folks that I deal with are from Japan. There's one from Tasmania, and then several of us in America. And we were brought together by a sister, Midori-san. She is a tea master in Japan, and so they included in their practice in the morning tea ceremony. So she instructed me on how to do the tea ceremony. And the tea ceremony historically was when the samurai was going to go out and fight. They didn't know whether or not their lives would be lost, whether or not they would be successful. But before going, they would go into a tea room. A tea room was no furniture, no nothing in there, just the tea set up. And you had, in order to get in there, they had to duck because it was low hanging. They had the ducks, and to get in, so they had to leave all the everything that's out in the world. They had to leave outside the tea room, and they would go in and they would do the tea ceremony. And every movement in the tea ceremony was centering yourself inward. Every when you use the scoop, when you wipe the scoop, it's centered inside. Or to the left is spiritual. So we do that, that's the history that I understand. And we would do that, centering ourselves. And then we would go into yoga, slowly do yoga. And then a chant, and the chant is for perfect wisdom. That's the name of the chant. Chant for perfect wisdom. Then after that, we would go into meditation.
Wow. Wow. Well, that sounds powerful, Mama Mal. That's every dawning that you do that?
Every dawning. I missed the tea this morning because I got up a little late, but I got the everything else in.
Right.
And
Well,
we
thank
drink
you.
matcha tea. We drink matcha tea, which of course matcha is full of iron, and it's a green leaf that they ground right down to a powder. And in order to get it dissolved, you had to use the chesa to stir it up. It's yeah. And we
Right. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's powerful, and you know, I would really like to participate in that one day.
really not a
Yes, indeed.
At 6, I get up at 4:45 in the morning because I like to have my body clean. So I shower and what have you, prepare for tea. It's yeah. And we would love
Right.
to have you.
All right, Mama Mal. I'm gonna take you up on that. I'm gonna take you up on that offer. All right. I see the chat is starting to become active. So the administrative team, please help me out and share some of what has been shared in the chat.
Can I share? Desiree.
Desiree, greetings,
hi.
Desiree.
Hi, so I'm new to your group. Shawnee, I met Shawnee very recently through a friend, and she introduced me to you guys. And so I'm delighted to be here and say hi. I'm new to the US. I'm new to the US, new to Brooklyn, been living here for just 2 weeks. So on the ritual side, my rituals are kind of all over the place. But one thing that has, and I like to embrace, there's your ritual that you have, and mine has always been, for a long time been meditation. But there's always, when you change spaces, as something else just is in the air and speaks to you in that way. And so I live quite near Prospect Park. And so one thing that's become this ritual is walking in the park for about an hour in the morning, as early as I can get there. And it is the most wonderful and refreshing and delightful thing that has become a ritual for me. And like the sister who spoke before, I've also got my matcha tea here, which I have in the morning. But one thing that you mentioned, which is new rituals, is in the last couple of days, I felt called to go into a period of silence. I felt very discombobulated by what was going on elsewhere. And no matter what I did, I didn't seem to be able to shake that. And so I thought, I'll just spend the next 3 days in silence. And that has been very clearing, very, very clearing for me, not speaking, meditating for a good part of the time, but not really speaking to others in conversation. And so that's been, I'm in a kind of ritual reboot phase, as it were, to see what the emerging rituals will be. So thanks for that. Just wanted to share that.
Yes, thank you, and welcome, Sister Desiree. We're grateful to have you in the space, and looking forward for you to continue to be a part of our community. All right, thank you. All right, so Sister Naja.
So, yeah, let me share some of what's been dropped into the chat. We've heard from Desiree, so thank you, and I echo Kamau's sentiments. Welcome to the community. We are happy that you have joined us this morning. Chantel shared that she experienced an impactful Reiki session yesterday, and it left her feeling lighter and inspired. And she goes on to say she cleared so much and felt like she made room for new opportunities. Martine's morning ritual is meditating on her list of intentions and desires, throwing them into the field of infinite possibilities and choreographing some of them, then writing in her gratitude journal. Michelle shares that she tries to wake up at least 3 times out of the week around 5 to go to the gym, or she likes to enjoy a cup of coffee. Denise says within the last 24 hours, she has opened the blinds in every room of her 3rd floor house, about 20 windows, letting in the light, symbolic of letting in the light of God into her life and into the lives of family members. Rising and meditating at an altar for 30 minutes, brushing teeth, hot water with lime was shared by Stephanie. And wow, we have a lot. So then I was scrolling.
Yeah,
I can
that's
share
good.
a few more, or do you want to move on?
Yeah, I think, we are going to move on, but I
Okay.
appreciate everybody's share, and, we'll continue to engage the community with more questions. So if we can bring up the first slide, and as Sister Naja is doing that, I just want to, take the time to recognize, that in the words of Maladome, it says, in the absence of ritual, the young ones are restless and violent. There are no true elders. Grown-ups are in despair. The community is ill, right? And with this recognition of your individual rituals, we also recognize that the need for collective and community rituals. And the whole idea around that is for us to activate our sensibilities, tap into the gifts in a community context so that we're able to see each other and recognize and speak power into each other by recognition of what someone's sharing and offering, and what they're coming to contribute to community. All right, and so let's get grounded a little bit in some of what we reviewed last session, right? And so we spoke about the idea of radical ritual, maintenance ritual, elemental immersion initiation or rites, and plant medicine initiation rites, right? And so if I can get some volunteers, of anyone, just to share 4 different voices to be able to share the definition so that we can hear and feel and experience other people's energy. So radical ritual, would you mind reading? Thank you, Dr. Kenneth Brew. I hope I'm saying that right.
Which one? A radical ritual.
Yes.
Good morning, and it's Kenna Brew, but that's
Kenneth Brew.
okay. It's Pamela or Olafemi. Radical radical ritual, a community ritual designed for the repair of the broken or damaged human psyche. In such a ritual, the physical body is pushed to the extreme in order to create a situation of tension favorable for the removal of unwanted energetic debris and the restoration of a more acceptable self.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Kenneth Brew, Sister Pamela. Yeah, so this idea of experiencing a radical ritual, and I propose particularly for people of African indigenous ancestry who have been experienced deep levels of trauma and deep levels of an assault on identity, on every level, spiritual and mental, emotional, physical, and beyond, right? The level of trauma that we've experienced. Radical ritual speaks to helping us to align ourselves, reconnect ourselves, establish a sense of mission, purpose, have a clarity and a watcher's perspective of what it has meant to experience and endure some of the trials that we've gone through. All right. Next voice around maintenance ritual, maintenance, many of which we described a little bit earlier. Can we have volunteer for the maintenance ritual? Would you mind, Sister Martina. I'm sorry, Martine. Martine, get your
I
voice.
was gonna ask you who's Martina.
Yeah, I'm sorry, sister.
Good morning, everybody. Grand Rising. A regular practice of acknowledging an existing connection with the world of spirit and the ancestors. These are daily self-care protocols for spirit activation, balance, harmony, and order.
All right. And so like many of you described within the chat and, hearing from Sister Desiree and Mama Amal, the day-to-day maintenance rituals are just ways to continue to activate ourselves, put ourselves in that frequency, in that zone that enables us to think, breathe, and take intentional steps so that we're resonating with a certain level of intentionality in our day-to-day lives. And it allows us to be able to attract those experiences. So when we're intentional about that, then we can, begin to live our lives, not only just think about it, but claim it and live it so that we are engaged in our life purpose and sharing the most authentic part of ourselves. Elemental immersion initiation rites. We have any volunteers to read that, or I can call on someone.
This is Laura.
Greetings, Laura.
Greetings, brother.
Welcome.
Elemental immersion initiation rites. Radical rites and initiations where the participant engages intimately with fire, water, earth, mineral, and nature in order to remember, reclaim, and activate the intelligences that are significant for achieving their divine purpose.
All right, thank you. Thank you for sharing your voice with that definition. And so that's what our main focus is going to be today, is looking at the elemental immersion initiation rites and rituals. These are where there's a great intentionality to connect with the spirit of the elements and bring our dilemma and bring our aspirations to the spirit, so that there can be some way of us being able to reconnect with the elements within, and begin to be informed by the intelligences of those elements. So we'll get a little bit deeper into that. And our fourth review term centered around plant medicine initiation. Can I get a volunteer for that? Right, is
Morning, good morning.
good dawning.
Okay. Plant medicine initiation rites. A radical initiation that utilizes sacred, oh, I'm sorry, entheogenic sacraments that guide initiates to, oh my goodness, I'm sorry. It's hard to read it because the text is going
Oh,
over.
yeah,
so
I know how that is.
the rest
To
of it.
and through. Guide initiates to. Okay.
I have a text box now blocking the bottom part of my screen. So if you could.
I see. Okay. All right. No problem. I'll finish it for you. So it utilizes sacred entheogenetic sacraments that guide initiates to and through the threshold of their spirit/minds. The plant serves as a teacher that meets you where you are and supports with providing an elevated view of your past, present, and future. All right, and so we have spoke about that last time as well. That was a grand overview where we got a little bit of the elemental. We spoke about some of the plant medicines. These ritual practices and these sacred sacraments are finding expression again in the modern world. And so we've heard testimonies around people's journeys and experiences with the mushrooms and ayahuasca and iboga and sassafras and multiple other elemental spiritual teachers that come through plant medicine. So we're going to focus more on that in part 3. So we'll continue to move forward. But thank you, and you can release the slides, Sister Nigel. All right, and so all of these kind of fall under the framework of what Malidoma would call radical rituals, and also what he was calling and charging people to think about in terms of spiritual militancy, right? And this idea of being spiritually militant. And before, in my experience, when I participated in the elemental immersion initiation, before each trial or before each initiation took place, Malidoma would give this big motivational speech, and he would also be speaking a lot about what it meant to be spiritually militant, like putting it all on the line. You made the intentional sacrifice of moving away from your family and uprooting yourself for these 4 to 5 days, and being able to do that in a way that you recognize that things may not be working in your life from the side of it in terms of, the trial side of it. But then there's also another resonance that called you to this space. And at this particular time in the season and the issues that our communities globally are facing, there's a need for a certain type of a mindset that enters into shifting the paradigm as we're entering into this new age, as we're entering into experience what they're calling the new earth, right? And so there's a level of strong intentionality and an approach, a warrior spirit, as you approach these initiations, right? And so that is the charge that he would put on anyone who is going to be experiencing that level of initiation, right? And so when we think about those initiations and the charge of being spiritually militant, what is starting to emerge and come into your mind when you think about this idea of spiritual militancy? What actions and behaviors come to your mind when you hear the term spiritual militancy? And provide some examples on times of your life where you've demonstrated spiritual militancy, and what was the impact of those actions? All right, so that's a question for the community as we move and we think about this call and this charge for that. Okay, Sister Mama Amal, I see your hand, and then right after that, Sister Teresa.
Okay, what comes to me is mastery, spiritual mastery. We only use a small percentage of our ability as humans from the spiritual venue, and going into mastery it could mean a plethora of things where we just with the thought we can change the course of history if it's a critical mass of us thinking in a certain way, and how it has changed my life. Wow. Can I come back to that question, or let me think about that? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay, Sister Teresa.
Yes, good morning, peace and blessing.
Peace and blessings, sister.
When I think about spiritual mastery, I think I had a situation that happened with my coworker the other day, and during the conversation, it got very heated, and I was very angry, and I wanted to say, I'm going to quit, but I was like, you know what, this what you're doing is greater than what your emotions that you're dealing with at this particular point. So just stay on the phone and continue in the conversation. So I was speaking with my sister about the conversation. She was like, well, the lady is I understand where the lady's coming from. I said, but you know what? It's like I realize is that how I want to live my life and what somebody else want to live their life is their choice. And so I'm choosing not to deal with the situation because this is what I don't want to do. And so normally even having a conversation with my sister, I might have, got like a little upset, but I wasn't upset because I was able to, spiritually master, where I was at in this particular place in life. And so I felt good that I was able to say that, just been dealing with just standing on, standing on my ground of where, of my future. And because my future is not about me, it's for, for other people that I'm connected to. So, and so I was really proud of myself that I just did not allow, and I was like, I was actually like saying some, like, I thought they heard me. I said a cuss word one time, and I was like, oh shoot, I cannot, because I got that frustrated with the conversation. And thankfully, Spirit did not allow them to hear, because I know if they would have heard what I said, that they would have, responded. But I was just proud of myself that I just did not, want to quit, because the situation was getting, like really rough for me, and I felt like I was being attacked by the conversation. But I was like, nope. And I just told him, I was like, no matter what you say, we're a team, and we're gonna learn to get along with each other no matter what. And that's it. And I'm
Wow.
complete.
Sister Teresa, that's such a powerful testimony, and a reflection of the work that you've been putting in on yourself, and being able to, again, hear a call around a sacred mission that you are aligned with, and recognizing that there are trials. And what I'm hearing from the reflection is that you're not attached in the same way from responding and allowing the wounds to speak for you, or allowing a certain voice to speak for you anymore, particularly in recognizing if it's not going to service the greatest good. Because what you're doing is not is a great benefit. It's very much in alignment to your next threshold that you're crossing, but it also has so much impact because there's so many people who are going to benefit from the medicine that you bring and the spirit that you bring to activating this new sense of purpose that you are traveling on, this new path that you're traveling on. So I just want to thank you, for sharing that. Thank you so much.
And believe me, Brother Kamau, it's not as easy what people think. But I just, I was like, no, Teresa, you have a deeper, place that you need to go with this, and you can't allow the situation, and it was challenging. I'm telling you, I was like, whoo, I'm quitting. Forget about it. Y'all can have this job. And I'm like, just something said to you, nope, you cannot quit the job. It's bigger than you. And so, I was just really happy with myself that I was able to not, like give into quitting, because, I was uncomfortable in the conversation. So I felt good about
that's Sister Teresa, that's powerful. And, my charge to you is to continue to stay with your maintenance rituals, so that there is a clarity in each and every part of your day that allows you to be able to resonate with the vision that you have for yourself, as well as attract those experiences and repel anything that might be, attempting to disrupt you on your path. All right. Okay. I see another hand that is raised. Is that Sister Denise?
Thank you, Brother Kamau.
Yes, indeed.
When I think of spiritual militancy, I think of being completely focused on what I'd like to do, or want to do, or need to do, or have been charged to do, even by myself. I think of and try to get into a stance of being clean physically, if time permits, and also psychologically, emotionally, in that I cleanse my space of all other things that are around me that try to vie for my attention, and keep my attention focused on what I need to do and how I need to do it. So that's what I think about when I think of spiritual militancy.
Yeah, that resonates, and I'm sure with the community around impeccable focus, really being 100% committed and clear and intentional about the path that you're on.
Absolutely.
And not allowing any force or combination of forces to stop you. Once it's been made up, and once it's received the affirmation and clarity from the source, the powers, the spirits that guide you, then it's not done as, we don't receive these as sick jokes. They're given to us for us to be able to execute them, share them, implement them, and offer the greatest aspects of our divine calling.
Exactly. May I add one thing?
Sure, sure.
It's almost like being in a trance,
Mm.
totally committed.
Mm-hmm. No, that's powerful, right? And so you are in this space where there's a power moving through you that is even bigger than the self that might marginalize our own existence, right? This idea of being spirit incarnate, right, is something that once you realize and you tap in, even the smaller, or what sometimes we call in the space lower vibrational frequency, doesn't have any kind of power in terms of being able to get into the way. They just have, those voices have to just come with us
Have
too.
to move
Right?
out. Yeah.
They either move out or they're gonna come with us, you know.
Exactly.
And so, you know, and in the coming through process, that those voices become a little less silent and more and faint in the distance. Right. But thank you so much, Sister Denise, for sharing. All right. And I see Dr. Pamela's hand is up before we move on to the next part. So good. Please share, Dr.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking, thank you for allowing me to share. When I look at sort of the spiritual militancy and radical rituals, I was thinking back over some of the, listening to the, or reading the definition, I was looking at some of those radical rituals that I've engaged in the past. And in reflecting, I realized that the radicalization or the radical part came about with what I needed to overcome at that time. So for example, we mentioned in another session about Vipassana and the 10-day meditation, if you will, and it is silent and not talking, disconnecting from reading material, disconnecting from anything, right? And also the sitting, the actual sitting in meditation. So there was I was so committed or used to reading and writing and to disconnect from that. And then the physical to actually sit, right, for several hours at a time. And as you progress, you don't move, right? And so it seemed outrageous. And the first thing I was thinking about, how could I not talk for 10 days? Because I talk all the time. But it wasn't even that. It was just the discipline to sit still. And so that was something that I had to overcome. And then some of my spiritual initiations, most of the time initiations are secret, right? You don't know. And I've always liked to know. So I go into everything knowing, but this not knowing and trusting the community. So it wasn't the actual ritual itself, it's what it was accomplishing in my life. That was the part, right? Trusting, not knowing. And now when I come back from these events, if you will, leaning in and being comfortable with not knowing everything, being comfortable with the unknown, being comfortable even when I'm physically irritated. Oh, it's too hot, it's too cold, I want to move, realizing that I sat still, right? And you know, for hours. So just really that process, right? That's for me, that was what the radical ritual, it's unearthing or some of the things that I've clung to when we talked about, I think the definition was that debris, right? Sometimes it's spiritual debris, physical debris, or whatever the case may be. So I'm complete. Thank you for allowing me to share.
And thank you for that very powerful share. The idea of comfort, right? And being able to come out of your comfort zone, and the idea of embracing what people are starting to discover as a superpower these days is vulnerability, right? These radical rituals and what we'll be focusing on today around the elemental piece is designed to teach you the intelligences that come from, the medicine that comes from discomfort. There's only information that can come from you in a place of you're willing to voluntarily be in a space of uncomfortability and embracing that fully, and being able to somehow, and here's where the paradigm shift happens, when you're able to surrender, accept, and embrace, and be willing to be able to release and let go within that space. Right. So, Sister Niger, let's go to the next slide, right? Where it talks about Maladoma, and so we can get again another tone and a glimpse of this idea around spiritual militancy. Right. And you know, this was a charge that he had been a part of what his call became for those who heard the call, right? And you know, let's get WU member's voice to read this. Somebody's volunteer. And thank you for your voices and sharing and co-creating this experience. Right. So as you see, we have the Aquabin symbol, which is the spiritual call to action, the warriorness, the call when it's time for step into the battlefield. Right. Right. So the call to spiritual militancy by Maladoma. Can I get a volunteer?
Hi, this is Denise. I'll volunteer.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Spiritual militancy. The time for a vigorous act of devotion to and embracing of the wisdom of indigenous Africa has come. After centuries of silence and in hiding, the powers and wisdom of the ancestors are rising to lead the world into the next level of consciousness and spirituality. As we know, the continent is not just the birthplace of mankind, it is also the repository of profound unseen powers and technologies on standby to contribute to a radical healing change much needed in the world today. This calls for some militant initiative on the part of those in whose heart ancient Africa speaks, to check in for this exciting and compelling journey home, where they can expect to find how much of the old in them has been waiting to burst in service of the world's need to heal and to transform.
Right. Thank you so much. Such a powerful voice to share a powerful message. Right. And so now when we think about this idea, and we can come out of this slide, Sister Naja, this idea of something waiting to burst out of you, right? These calls are made and they resonate with you on such a deep level that, you know, there's a certain kind of intelligence starts to emerge that you had no idea or had no way of being able to find expression for it, right? And that's why that level of community initiation and community ritual is so valuable, because just like the WU space, people are tapping into intelligences and finding value and finding a sense of mission and purpose where they are either reconnecting with it and having a different perspective and outlook or of something that they've been working on as a purpose, or completely new thoughts and ideas are emerging in terms of what value and contribution that they can bring to community. All right. And so I saw some hands up. Brother Kojo, did you want to share?
I was volunteering to read, brother.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't have anything at the moment.
No, that's fine, brother. That's fine. I just want you to know what, while you're here and thinking about it, and what's coming to me is that you have had and experienced some levels of initiation in your journey as a drummer that have been radical, that have completely taken you out of your comfort zone And there has been a lot of militancy in the approach that you have taken in the initiative around that. And there has been certain times where you felt like you've had a mastery over that. And then there's other times where you've been in question, where there's something more to emerge from your journey as a djembe fola, right? And so if there's any thoughts around that particular aspect of your life, of what is starting to surface as a medicine that impacts you, as well as what you're intentional about in terms of sharing with community. You know, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but you know, this is what this is all about.
No, absolutely, brother. Yeah, I mean, the short way of saying it is the radical ritual, spiritual ritual. In terms of my experience in djembe, was to the point where I had been immersed. I immersed myself in study to the point where years had passed, and I didn't realize that I had actually forsaken one of my great loves in music, which is also a ritual for me in DJing. So anyone who knows me and, you know, knows my history and my past, you know, growing up, you know, starting DJing at the age of like 9 years old and immersed in, you know, hip hop culture, to experience a radical shift in my life to focus on playing djembe and studying the tradition of djembe, and being blessed to travel, you know, from New York to DC, back and forth on a regular basis, to be introduced to my master from Guinea, West Africa, via my brother and comrade from DC, Mahiri Funjin Maketa, and then being blessed to go to Africa for the first time. So this was a radical change and radical shift. So I just remember, you know, having that awakening, like to say, oh, snap, I have not touched my turntables, you know, in years. It felt like it had been almost 10 years, you know. But it was more like you know, like 6, but, you know, in terms of time moving. I mean, 6 is a lot, as many is a lot. You know, and then there was connections to wanting more, you know, wanting more for myself, wanting more out of the culture, and wanting more to give to the culture in terms of hip hop and our impact that the music has in our community, you know, because I am from Nat KRS and Public Enemy, Tribe Called Quest generation, what we call the golden era of hip hop. So it was the contribution of putting balance in the music, in the airways, and then therefore in the people's minds and hearts in terms of the level of consciousness that was in the music. You know, where we had the gangster rap and the fun rap of Kid and Play and Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. So, you know, but also what impact it has made on my life, because as a student studying African culture, African history, coming into, you know, from college, first time, you know, first experience in college down south, and then being introduced to Hunter College as a student of Professor Donna Richards, Mama Marin Lani, being introduced to the teachings, you know, that she would bring forth, and that we know now is the Urugu text. So this is
yeah, that's yeah. I mean, your journey, and I often share this with you, is very unique, and the space that you sit of being able to concoct the scholarly, the cultural practitioner, the artistic side, and really bring all of that together in a distinct way as you strap on your drum and come with a ancestral, indigenous ancestral sensibility. So, you know, my charge is to continue to, you know, concoct your medicine and allow the ancestors to pound on your medicine, and, you know, continue to be able to walk through the initiations and the trials that you still are moving through in order to give voice and ways to continue to make your medicine more potent, as it's been at every season, but the season of life of being able to accumulate all that you have done so far. So thank you for your share, brother. Looking at the time check is 7:56, and we know that some of you have to transition and make moves, whether that's to your church, your mosque, whether that's some of us are, on the assignment for work today. But I thank you for being present. I thank you for lending your voice to the Woo experience today, and helping to co-create this powerful experience. If you'd like to stay in contact with me, my information has just been placed in the chat. So please feel free, and we will see you tomorrow, bright and early, 7 o'clock. All right, so let's move on. Okay, we're starting to build and pick up a little bit of our momentum. And again, thank you all for sharing your voices. Let's go to the next slide, Sister Naija, which is just my effort, my attempt to bring a definition. I have never seen the definition of spiritual militancy before. And as I was preparing to share, I said, before I go outside, let me take a look inside. And this is what I came up with. Spiritual militancy, an urgent and self-determining act to restore the memory of one's divine assignment, sacred gifts, and indwelling powers, which I'm calling special medicine, for the benefit of servicing humanity, the planet, and the cosmos. All right, and so this is, again, this is what I heard and I felt when I heard the concept of spiritual militancy. Some of you have spoken about, this impeccable focus that emerges. Some of us are talking about being aligned completely to, a call that is greater than ourselves. And this is all a part of that particular charge. And I'm proposing and affirming that now more than ever, that we are in a great need of everyone being able to take that initiative that lives within our bone and in our blood memory and really begin to intentionally push the envelope and start to push and go beyond and think a little bit more and do a little bit more as it relates to those messages and the messaging that comes through us, and prioritizing the time and the space to take those deep dive looks at what it is that you can do to begin to ignite that fire that's within you and be present to the call that's being made to you, through you, and the ways that people are holding up mirrors and saying that this is what it is that we're seeing, and this is what it is. There's no accident that you find your space in a Woo community amongst people who are identifying a sense of mission that relates to probably the highest objective of today is centered around healing, right? And so it makes perfect sense. And the charge, as it came through Maladomas, came through many of our ancestors, is the urgency of now as it relates to your spiritual practice, right? And the distinction sometimes comes from not necessarily the action of anything, but it's sometimes the inaction of being able to go within, right? And sometimes we find ourselves just wanting to, militancy means to, do something, but in the spiritual context, the idea, and I'm exploring it for myself as well, is to, what are the ways that I can really hear? What are the methods that I have for remembering? What are the things that I can do that I have not done, where my own logic, my own mindset has been exhausted, now that I have to take it to a higher possibility, right? Right, and so that's coming through. We can come out of the slide, and just some quick thoughts about that whole notion, hearing Maladoma's call, hearing the definition, and a little bit what's coming up for people, what's starting to surface.
So Kamau, I don't see any responses just yet. to
Okay.
this in the chat, but I did see something on Facebook that I'd like to share.
Okay, wonderful.
Wendy Pierre says, when she thinks of spiritual militancy, I think of soldiers prepared for battle. They are prepared to fight for a cause bigger than themselves. So it is with the spiritual preparation for the battle of life on a different level.
Amazing. Who said that?
Wendy Pierre.
Thank you so much, Sister Wendy. Thank you so much. That's a powerful share. Very powerful.
Yes.
Right. I'm seeing Sister Anna's hand.
Yes.
But come off mute, Sister Anna. Greetings, sister.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, yesterday I had an amazing experience, and I'm starting to get emotional about it right now, and goosebumps. This community, Wu Nation, has opened my mind's eye. And so I said, what can I do? I never really thought about my ancestors on a daily basis like I'm doing now. So yesterday, I took 2 of my grandchildren to the African American Cemetery Monument in Manhattan because I used to work down there and I passed it all the time, but I never went in before. So it was I had a dream one time that I was a slave and I got killed running away. And so I felt that emotional attachment to see the bones of my ancestors in that cemetery, and 40% of the bodies were children. So it was so touching. I was starting to get emotional. But it also made me realize that there's a circle that they have in the middle of the tundra of the room. And they had 24 different cultures that were slaves, and they had the names of each tribe. And I was thinking that we lost 24 different traditions, 24 languages, 24 cultures, and that now I want to read and I want to study about each one of those tribes and cultures. I never was interested in the way that I am now. And then I saw the lies that they were depicting, and there was a war mural and they were showing their church. And I said, well, where was the church of the slaves, of the Black people? They said, we didn't have a church. And I know that's impossible because we always worship. So they always leave out our spiritual level, which is even higher than theirs, because we are the original people. And I have to research that to find there had to be a church for Black people in the 1600s, even if it was down by the river. But they won't give us that, because it was a white woman that was doing the tour. And that's another thing I don't understand. How do you have this white woman? And I was like, don't be mad at this white woman, but how do you have a white woman teaching us about our history? That's an insult within itself, so you're already telling lies. Then you have a white woman representing us, and I'm like, and then they had a statue that was very clear of the features of a white woman on like a ship. And one side had the slave's features and the face was distorted, but the white woman's features was very clear and dominant. I was like, who did this sculpture? So I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional, I'm shaking to think, how they continue to minimize who we are, and I saw the material. One of the sessions was about indigo blue, And so they had the different materials showing of African culture. But I'm realizing most likely in that material is our history, because the patchwork, everything that we do, they mimic. So patchwork is probably coming from our original culture of putting our history in the fabric, because each fabric depicted a tribe. So when I learned about the indigo, the blue, they had the blue material. So that is probably indigenous. I think the woman did tell us originally where that blue material came from, but that's really our history that they suppressed from us. But they have a library in there, but it was closed. But I'm gonna go back and research that library, and I'm gonna write to them and ask them, please have a person of color talk to us about our history. You know, in a sense, I felt insulted that it was a white woman telling me about my ancestors. So I want to thank the Wu Nation for opening up my mind eye to my ancestors. And I had to leave. The woman was like, you could stay longer, but I was starting to get angry, you know, because of all that I was seeing. But it was great that they did memorialize the site, but they still built on top of it. We were standing on sacred ground, but they still built on top of it. But that's the way they got around it, by doing this memorial.
Right. And see, sister, thank you so much. That's amazing. And it's really clear that your blood memory was activated in that moment. It's really clear that you were experiencing ritual in that moment just by being around the energy of this location where our ancestors dwelled and toiled and fought and died and served. And there is a charge that is emerging and a call that you're responding to, and being able to help in some way to contribute to preserving that narrative and living as an embodiment of the call that the ancestors are making to you at this particular time. You know, I appreciate your share. If what's coming through as well, you and your grandchildren and anyone within the community of going to those spaces and taking some of those charges and dilemmas that you might be experiencing in your life and just where you are aspirationally and vision-wise, and bringing them to the ancestors in that space. There's also space for sacred rituals to take place in that location, and there will be incredible downloads that will happen for you in terms of your own personal life and ways to, again, reconnect, but also what your responsibilities are now becoming through that activity. All right. So thank you, sister. Thank you. That was amazing.
Thank you. I encourage people to go there. That, you know, that's our sacred ground. That's
Yes,
our
indeed.
ancestors there. And they don't really talk about it that much.
You're right.
Anyway.
You're right. Thank you, Sister Anna.
Have a good day.
You too. You too. All right. Sister Martine, and then we're going to move on because I have a breakout design, and I'm going to definitely conclude by 8:30 because we do have a part 3. So, you know, we want to make sure that we're going to stay in tune and in time with making sure that we're closing out on time today, right? So, Sister Martine.
Whew, okay, I don't even know how to come from behind that with what I have to say. I wish I went before Anna, but I do appreciate the fact that for me, her share has expanded my idea of the ancestors. The one thing I feel like, and I might be speaking for a couple people in this space who like are maybe ashamed to say it, and it's not so much that I'm ashamed to say it, but it's like you said that we are divinely in this space for a reason. I love this space. I love how it challenges me, but I have a real disconnect to the idea of bringing my ancestors into anything. I'm really disconnected. I came from, you know, I grew up Christian, Catholic, then to Protestant and whatever. And I've abandoned that. I've abandoned religion for several reasons. And one thing that I'm really big on is not trading in one thing for another. One of the reasons why I'm sometimes even repelled by the idea of ancestors, especially when we speak the name of the deceased that we knew into a space. I definitely have people who are monumental in my life that I can look to, but there's a lot of people, especially in my family. I have a lot of family issues that I would not want to take any advice or bring into my sacred space. I remember going through the Be the Tree rites of passage. A lot of us had people who passed away during that cycle, and I, for one, was one. I had a family member who passed away, and Be the Tree tried to honor that so much. I know that they, in our culmination, they wanted to put pictures up of those people and speak their name into the space, but the person who passed away, I would have never done that for. To me, and I'm just going to say this just out of feeling, because, just take it with a grain of salt, that wasn't a good person. So I wanted to touch on that because I feel a lot of this work is surrounded around that. And then also to plant medicines. And I'm trying to get open to that. Dr. Oz even says that we need to reset, and he believes in microdosing LSD. And that's very scary for me. I know that I live in Houston, and there was a shaman from Hawaii who came and was giving ayahuasca. They were doing ayahuasca ceremonies. And I wanted to do it because I love the idea of all of this. But for the reasons I mentioned, I'm really disconnected. So I'd like some guidance on that.
Right. Well, sister, thank you for being able to open up and share in that manner. That's an ongoing piece, because there has been a lot of misinformation, and intentionally a lot of misinformation around African indigenous spiritual technology and who we were prior to our experiences enslaved and colonized and having religion, our indoctrination and the force and abuse that was done intentionally. So it creates a level of disconnect there. And if we're talking about our own personal ancestors who might have caused pain within our own experiences or left here in a way that we might deem as dishonorable, then there is certain kind of a disconnect for being able to remember what their physical experience. So I'll share in terms of, my own personal journey. So I had an uncle who left here, and by the modern sense of the word, he left as somebody who was a junkie. He was addicted to heroin. And it wasn't until one of the ceremonies that I had, and that was just an aspect of his life. The full grand scheme of knowing his narrative was revealed in a plant medicine initiation. He was not only just marginalized to that in our existence and our knowledge of who he was, but he was photographic memory. He was a genius in many regards. What came out in the initiation that I took when I first became initiated with ayahuasca was that he was seeking to be a medicine man, and he carried a certain type of medicine, but he didn't have access to community, and he didn't have access to the pure experiences of initiation. And when he went through his experience, that it was a sacrifice in many regards for those who would be able to observe his life and be able to glean from the dangers of the path that he took. But also in that space, I learned about the possibilities of where he was attempting to go and where his spirit was really striving to reach. And I recognize that as an honor in being able to embrace the legacy of something that he didn't have access to. And he came to me during that journey space to be able to acknowledge that this is what his role was, and that a part of the sacrifice was for me to be able to take on that role, right? That became a very profound, life transformational experience, because not only him, but I had a lot of people in my family through the weaponized use of drugs, and our birthright being that we come from these places. We went through this concept entheogenic or entheogens. Those are sacraments that are designed to create spiritual experiences and allow us to be able to have initiations that give us greater insight to our gifts, our powers, and the qualities and the attributes that we carry from an indigenous sensibility, right? So we are in this modern world, and we have these modern titles, and we have these goals that are created, but we still carry this memory around some of the intelligences and the sensibilities and the practices that once existed. And so some of us can get caught up in the more modern expression of how plant medicine has been used because of the weaponization of that. There's been plenty of people that have been healing from drug addiction through iboga ceremony. The thing is that the key words is ritual and ceremony and community and healing that need to be a part of any experiences, because I know the fear of wanting to get caught up in what that whole taboo might be in terms of continuing a cycle within your family, right? And so it's some of these experiences that have been able to reveal a little bit deeper if you have an entry point into that. And the whole level of the ancestral piece of it, it comes down again from being miseducated around the spiritual practice of ancestralization. So with that, I thank you again, sister, and I hope that something that I shared is able to resonate with where you are in your process. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Sister, we're at 8:18, and Sister Purple, I'm gonna go with your question. I have to, and if we have to administration push some other things back, then we can, but this is real time. I just want to keep my hand on the pulse of the community, right?
Yes, thank you so much. Good morning, Wu. This conversation, just welcome back. Thank you so much for our conversation and our space. There's two things that I want to ask. One, I want to point out and ask maybe for some guidance or understanding that I feel like I could only share in the Wu community. So my first point or ask is about the deep work I notice I'm doing in ritual, have been doing through the years, especially while we've been in this pandemic. Now that I'm inside, it's like my first time honoring my introvert since I was a child. And so I notice when I go outside, the energy of the world, as an empath, like I'm feeling it differently now more than ever. Even last week, my job did a meditation online, so like 100 people, and I don't be wanting to be on screen with them. It's not my frequency. And I tried to be open and do it with them, but when they breathed out, all of that energy went into me. I had to turn my screen off, get up, get some Palo Santo and everything. I'm trying to explain to my supervisor, I can't do what everybody else do. Oh, I can't participate in everything. But I'm trying to figure out what I know now is what's missing is like some way to cover myself or something so that I'm not taking on that energy and having to come home and always like, it's a lot more energy than there's ever been. So that's one thing I want to know about. The second thing, which I've now come to discover my gift, or a lot of different guys I've met randomly have talked to me about my gift. They'd be like, you can see things, can't you? Right. And I used to be scared to tell people that most of my life. But now I'm like, yeah, I see and hear things different. To the point where the eye doctor this past year, I went, my eyesight has improved. And they said I have 20/15 in one eye, which is better than 20/20. And I said, that's the seeing, right? That ain't these physical eyes only. That's a different seeing. I ain't telling him that, but I knew that was that. So this is what I want to share that I will only share in the Woo community. Last night, my partner and her son, we went to see the MJ musical on Broadway. It was fun because MJ music, and again, the way I see him, the way I've seen him in my life, hear the narrative, but I seen this brother say he's somebody I've been connected to because his seeing and his translation of his seeing in this music. So we jamming, me and the person in the seat is a part. They play Thriller, cool. They bring Thriller back around and his father's image changes. It's the first time I heard the song Thriller as potentially a person outing that they were sexually abused that night in their house. And I wasn't going to talk about this, but my partner on the way home said, "Hey, what do you think that scene was about?" And I said, "Yo, I don't know what to say to anybody about this, but I never heard Thriller the way I heard this." So then I put it on for her and I said, imagine someone was sexually abused in their home at night. Now listen to Thriller. And I pulled the lyrics up and I read it. And she was like, oh, shoot. And that's the kind of seeing and hearing. But I do question, is that me or am I bringing stuff to it? Is that my own stuff? That's where sometimes I get doubtful or uncomfortable and don't know how to talk about it. And I'm like, a lot of time hearing individuals or collective stuff. So I work with young people, and through the years, I've been able to hear other things they're not saying. And then ask certain questions by guidance, and then boom, things come out for the care and the connection that they need beyond it. And so that's a different kind of like way I need to take care of myself. I see Adam wrote in the chat, don't even look at the video, just read the lyrics. And not saying that that's it, and he talking about him, I don't know. But I'm really, as now the world is transitioning out, and most honestly, I'm like, yo, how do I move out here? Because the hearing and the seeing is louder now. How do I be well, and how do I take care of this gift? That's my question, brother.
Thank you so much, sister.
Mm-hmm.
There's this idea of, again, these intelligences that live in our blood memory, right? And these gifts that you're speaking about are normed in some of the indigenous cultures that we come from, right? And people have that capacity to see, and their gifts are used in a very functional way, and and they serve as a great value for community. Here, we've had to, turn the volume, or we've attached ourselves to the narrative of having to do that. In terms of some of the ways that you can protect the gifts from our indigenous point of view is, this idea of talisman and creating talismans, which are, medicines that you have on you as protection, right? They come in the form of necklaces, they come in the form of pouches, and they have certain medicine that relates to your mission and your calling, right? And so based off of what I'm hearing and some of the gifts that you have, if you went through any initiatory experience, then the source of those gifts, as well as some of the more deeper meaning of what they mean in your life and the contribution that you're here to do. A lot of the elemental initiations, as well as the plant medicine initiations, are direct revelation that you might not be able to find in external resources, because the ancestors or the guides will give you directly what it is and provide meaning to the gifts that you have, and give you a context so that you are clear on how to share it and what ways to share it, and the most valuable and most authentic and powerful ways to share those gifts. So, that's what's coming through at this particular time is, this idea around doing one of these type of initiations with the intention of coming with your questions. This is what all of this work is around. When you're called to something of this magnitude, you're being called because there's a certain knowing that you have, but it's just not clear, and you're coming for clarity. And there are also certain maybe obstacles that are blocking you from really accessing your purpose in that way. It could be related to your wounds, your personal wounds that you've received over time, or they can be also things that just represent your insecurities, your fears, and those things that are blocking you. You bring all of that to the space of ritual so that on all levels that these things can be addressed. Right.
Thank you so much. I've been called this year to work with the shaman and ayahuasca or do some past life. I know it's coming. I actually was just talking to somebody yesterday. It's like, yeah, I think this year I'm gonna step the first, and it'll be the first for me. I haven't done anything like that. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're resonating with the call, this is not for everybody. So this is a session that's really not geared towards saying that, you know, initiation comes to individuals and you hear and there's a resonance within a call. If your call and it continues to come and it continues to come and there's something that is speaking to you and penetrating your heart, then that's the thing that is really beckoning you. It's trying to make itself known and get your attention so that you can take the next steps that are a part of your initiatory experiences. That's going to provide clarity on your path.
Thank you again.
Thank you, sister. Thank you. All right, so let us get to a point of community. I just want to ask if we can do 10 more minutes. 10 more minutes. Is that okay with the administration team? 10 more minutes.
Yes, yes, Kamau, we are here with you. Let me know
And
where you'd like to go.
yeah, I'd like to, maybe hear 2 pieces from the chat, and then I'd like to do a quick breakout.
Okay. All right, so there was a lot of support in the chat for Anna's share as well as for Martine's share and her question. Anna shared in the chat, our ancestors were human and had their strengths and weaknesses. We honor them because they suffered and experienced trauma to an even greater degree than we are experiencing. We couldn't exist without their lives, good or bad. They are a part of our history. They are a link of a chain. Some links are stronger than others, but each link has value that contributes to the chain.
Well said. Outstanding. Excellent.
Mm-hmm. Then there was there were 2 comments in Facebook around ancestors and paying homage to ancestors. Tiffany says she understands what Martine meant about paying homage to ancestors who may not deserve it. Some people may have caused harm to others, and that trauma doesn't go away when they transition. Jem on Facebook shared she's hesitant to reach out to ancestors because she thinks of them as being dead. And she went on to say, also losing control in doing ayahuasca. Ayahuasca. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So we can move now to the breakout rooms.
No, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do, this is speaking to me now. Within the ancestralization work, is that the ancestors are present, and so let's speak about them. Part of the dilemma that we're experiencing beyond the miseducation and the taboo and the fear that comes from engaging in interaction with ancestors is we who are alive have never learned the technology of supporting ancestors and making a transition to the ancestor realm, right? And so there's a responsibility on our part that within a lot of indigenous cultures that they have a responsibility of helping to usher their ancestors to the realm of their loved ones to the realm of the ancestors. So that transition, and that comes from, having that knowledge and that level of technology. Many times and oftentimes an ancestor who transitions and is navigating to the realm of an official ancestor where they can be of value and of use, they because that's an initiation as well. So that they will need some support from those who are living in order to fully do that, or else they become stuck between worlds, right? And not really functional in this world. And this is all a part of African and indigenous cosmology and knowledge systems that we have, right? And so on this side of it is really being able to support an ancestor, because those who might have done the greatest harm are in a space now that they can provide the greatest good. So that's a narrative sometimes that we have when an ancestor leaves, and there might have been some wounds that they have been working out or didn't fully resolve in their life. They're in a much better position in some cases to be able to serve and be able to provide support and being able to heal what they were in the midst of and struggling with, right? And so that requires some work on the part of those who are alive and have some of those knowledge systems of how to support, excuse me, the ushering of a dead relative into the realm of an ancestor. So we're going to move on, and sister, this is what I want to do just to close out. I want to go to the last slide where it says, you are ready for radical rituals when, right? You are ready for radical rituals when, and that'll be the slide that we end on. And so part 3, we will, again, as we recognizing that there was a lot of rich conversation, we will focus on the elemental rituals as well as the plant medicine rituals. All right, so here's what I've derived as some of the experiences, not only me, but others who have participated in of creating radical rituals and experiencing radical rituals. You are ready for a radical ritual when you recognize that you have exhausted all of the cerebral, rational, logical mind can offer when confronting life ordeals, right? This is, when you are at the point where you've tried everything that you have thought about within your own sphere of realm. You've read the books, you've done your own work around it, and now it's time to take it to something greater than yourself. You are ready when you are struggling to identify, claim, and live your purpose, right? We're all sent here for a divine plan. We lose that ability to really have a full knowledge at birth. Something with the birthing process erases our memory. Then our trials in life, formal and informal, help us to remember, right? You are ready for radical ritual when you recognize that you are having difficulty with finding expression for your gifts and purpose in the modern world. Sister Purple, you made meaning of that to some degree. You use it for the value that you see it serving you in some spaces, and in other spaces you need more clarification. And sometimes we need more clarification, and that's what we take to those initiations, to those rituals. You recognize you are feeling exhausted and restless as a result of being disconnected to your purpose. Feeling of rootlessness, right? And we're not anchored sometimes. We're not really feeling and emoting. We're not connected to any of our spiritual sensibilities. This is a call for a radical ritual to help to realign. A radical ritual is needed, or when you're ready for one, when you are in a perpetual state of dissatisfaction and feel like you live in a constant struggle with yourself and your environment, right? This is a part of that. Your need, if you have experienced deep trauma, grief, and loss, and you are in need, if you have amazing gifts and indwelling powers, yet don't know how to integrate them to service yourself and those who make up your circle of love, influence, and obligation. Right. Right. So these are just some of those calls around when you might be ready for a radical ritual. These are some of the signs. You're not coming to this space overly confident. You're not coming to this space as you're attached to the knowledge systems in a way that that these things represent your absolute truth. You come into a radical ritual in a space of the greatest response to your call and the greatest intention about clearing the path so that you can begin to access what your call means real time. So we can come out of this slide. We're going to wrap up.
Peace, bro. This is Brother Kojo.
Yes.
Don't mean to interrupt. I know you're moving in sensitivity of time, but Spirit is just on me to give a word to Sister Purple and Sister Anna. For Sister Purple, tap into your purple. It's in your name. My brother Kamau spoke about talisman, but you also raised a question as what other things could you do to help protect yourself as you receive that certain wave of energy. So my first thought would go to covering your head. White is typically spoken of as a barrier, but I would also encourage you to tap into that purple and know things happen for no reason. You said when you came on how you gonna follow up Sister Anna's speaking, but both of you spoke of indigo, purple. So tap in. And Sister Anna, I encourage you to move on your mission. Thank you for sharing what you shared. It fed us all. The ancestors are not to be afraid, for us to fear. Transformation happens when we move to this next level. When our family members, those who are wounded and those who have caused wound, there's transformation. And in our word and in our mental, our mind power, we can also encourage that transformation for them to become healing ancestors and not wounded ancestors that cause wound. A lot of our ancestors, this is something I was taught through the Ma'afa experience that I shared with Shawnee for many years doing Ma'afa work, where we have seen ancestors come manifest who were killed, who were murdered, who were dragged through the mud, and that fear is still on them, but they also want to be acknowledged. They want to be acknowledged and known. Excuse me, because Spirit is on me. The breathing, that's another thing. Sister Anna and Sister Purple. The breath, breathing, taking those cleansing breaths. Right. Right. Pardon me, family. Yes, nothing happens for no reason. And yes, you both spoke of the indigo, which the Wu family we've experienced, and I was so blessed to be on with you all when the sisters spoke of the indigo, taught us on the indigo and the Vodun tradition and the Orisha and all ancestral traditions, but where that indigo was spoken of. So nothing happens for a reason, no reason, family. And let us just remain mindful of that. Today is a high day. Today is a high holy day, as a Sunday, So all of us activate in the spiritual in the spiritual space on Sunday, whether we know it or not know it. And I think I'll close on yeah. Just remembering, I'm sorry, brother. That today, this is for me, but it's, you know, I don't know if this is for everybody. Minister Farrakhan is going to speak today, and his speech is on to be on, or the word is supposed to be on the Swan Song. But what resonates for me about Minister Farrakhan is that he represents to me one of the last links in the chain of revolutionary spirit for Black power and Black change for Black people and for the benefit of our community. And this work this work that Wu does, this work that Kamau does, that all of us do, what you walked into, Sister Anna, as your face come up on my screen, you're doing the work of the ancestors, even by the simple fact that you walked in there with your children, your grandchildren. That's the work.
Wow.
I close there. Ashe, Black power. Ashe. Ashe.
Ashe. Thank you, Brother Kojo. And I think that's a way that we will close out. I see those who had their hands, and we have to come to some closure and be okay with non-closure. You know, if anybody is interested in checking in with me, and if there's any personal question that you might have or anything that you want to say, my contact information will be shared shortly. But I want to thank everybody for your participation today. I want to thank everybody for your voice today. And I think we did some amazing work in terms of concocting a rich experience. It's given direction, not on where I need to go, but it's given direction on where we need to go in terms of the continual conversation, clarity, education, and permission to be able to live according to what the divine design of our lives calling us to. So thank everyone once again. And just to close out this session, just would like for everybody to repeat after me in the closing words of Listervelt Middleton. Sharpen your eyes.
Sharpen your eyes.
Sharpen your eyes.
Tune your ears.
Tune your ears.
So you know what you see.
So
So
you
you know what you see.
Overstand what you hear.
Overstand what you
Understand
hear.
what you hear.
Minute by minute.
Minute by
Minute
minute.
by minute.
Hour by hour.
Hour by
By
hour.
hour.
As we know our story.
As we know our
We know
story.
our story.
We know our power.
We know
We know our power.
Shay family, thank you so much.
Ashe.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashe.
This is awesome.
Ashe, thank you.
All right, so we are getting ready for just the official announcements and close out as we bring up the slides for some announcements and just closing out the session.
So Kamau, as I move to the slides, we're going to your slide about your offer.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Okay. All right, so the offer for what we have coming up, it's a free complimentary consultancy or coaching around rites of passage, whether that's you thinking about where you are in your own journey. We live in a perpetual state of being in some type of a rite of passage or initiation, right? Through the trials that we go through, what we can do together is locate where you are, think about the ritual practices that you're doing to confront some of the trials that you have, and being able to clarify what call is being made. You know, operating from the high aspirational level of resonance within your heart, that you're hearing this call to do something, to be a certain way, And then the other aspect of it is centered around, the things that might be blocking you from realizing your true, your most authentic best self, right? So those are centered around the offerings. It's the first two people who email me at aquabin41@gmail.com will receive consultation around that. Do not, if you attempt to and don't, I've been saying too, complimentary, but I wind up, whoever has reached out, I've been offering some guidance. I'm going to cut it off to a certain point, but definitely the first two. And I will attempt to make some time for maybe 2 additional. All right, and here is my contact information, aquabin41@gmail. Okay, and again, it's centered around coaching, around your rites of passage journey. And also you can receive, if you have an interest in creating a rites of passage for a family member or community, I can help to support you in crafting a rites of passage for that. And if you're interested in creating a rites of passage based off of your mission and the work that you do, I can help you to design that as well. Yeah, so that's the special offer.
Okay.
All right, and here's my contact information. Me up on the book at Kamau Ptah, at Instagram at Akabin Ready for Action, and Twitter at JimBase69. And then again, my email information is aquabin41@gmail.com. Right. Love offering and donation. All right, so for the nourishment that you receive through Wu and those powerful administrators, facilitators that come through on a daily basis, please make a love offering and donation. They say the richest nation in the world is donation. So we want soulleadershipdevelopment@gmail.com, or you can cash app $ spirit of a woman. And the code for today is number 531KP. All right. So they say we live in the richest city, but actually, in all actuality, the richest city is generosity. Right. So please lend your donation. Next slide. All right. And tomorrow, my sister, Dion Monsanto, will be live and direct, 7 a.m. Monday, Pathways to Joy. All right. So that's tomorrow, the 28th, to conclude February. Join us tomorrow, 7 a.m. sharp, Pathways to Joy with Sister Dion Monsanto. And then, yes, on Tuesday, Where Your Mouth Is, the Art of Doing, Part 2, from our very own powerful facilitator, Martine Malavers. She's going to be coming, and she's in the space today. And one thing is always guaranteed with both of these sisters, that you are going to be fully engaged and enlightened. So thank you so much for being present today. And, please show up tomorrow for the next sessions.
Oh, I can take it away from here, Brother Kamau. Thank you so much for your session. Thank you so much for everyone's share and their co-creating the session with us. So at this time, we want to say hi, welcome, and give thanks for anyone who is new to our community, whether it is your first, second, third, maybe fifth time here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing space and energy with us. And we welcome you today and hope that you will return and be with us again. If you want to drop in the chat that you are new, the rest of the members can welcome you. And again, please don't let this be your last time. We hope to see you again. This is our schedule. We are in session every day except for Friday and Saturday. Our longer sessions are Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 7 to 8:30. And then on Mondays and Wednesdays, we have our shorter sessions that are 30 minutes in length. We're live on Zoom and we stream live on Facebook. There is an alert that you can receive if you like by text. If you would text Woo Nation to the number 74121, you would receive an alert in the mornings to remind you or wake you up so that you can join us. I believe that our producer is in the space. Shawnee, do you want to say anything before I start playing this video?
No, I'll speak after.
Okay, great. Thank you, sis.
Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Stay woke. Stay woke. So, greetings, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Coach Shawnee Renee Benton Gibson. And I'm thrilled to announce, to declare the title for the Woo Anthology that we are preparing to launch in the days to come. It's been a powerful journey just receiving responses from the community about what Woo has been for each of the community members, whether you have been here for almost the full 2 years, or you just joined in the last few months or the last few weeks, or even just for today, just the difference that has made for folks in their lives. And so the title, and if we can move to the next slide, just to confirm, we just did the big reveal and pull back the curtain, but it's important for you all to know. It's important for you all to know and be clear that the title for the Woo Anthology is Wake Up Everybody, a Community's Choice to Learn, Transform, and Ascend. As I was listening to Brother Kamau and the Brother Kojo, and just the unpacking of what Anna and Purple have shared, it's a choosing to awaken yourself to not only your physical being on this planet, but also to recognize that there is an ancestral connection and that there's a lineage, a patriarchal, a patrilineal line, and a matrilineal line that co-creates your existence and being, and that energy is never destroyed. So we can choose that as a way of thinking and being in the world, and then operate from that co-creation, not just with folks who we see in flesh and blood every day, but also the spirit, from the spirit realm, receiving that support too. So I'm inviting you to choose, because we do that every day. When we come into this space, we're choosing to utilize our time, whether it's 30 minutes, an hour, 90 minutes, 2 hours, to be in this space. We choose to volunteer as admins. We choose to respond in the various spaces that we do work around Woo. And we choose to share with other people outside of this community our growth and development, our learning, our ascension, our transformation. So NDRE says, because you never know where life is going to take you, you can't change where you've been, but today, you can choose the opportunity. You can actually select and elect to choose. So we're doing a choose campaign, an I choose campaign, and we're asking you, based on the title of the book, to fill out the form and to choose one statement that aligns with how you've been with this community. And we're going to drop a link in the chat. This link on this slide actually has to be updated. We're going to drop a link so that you can choose to fill out the form and declare what your statement is. And then we're going to follow up with you and ask if you can record a video or make an additional statement that will be used as part of the campaign for the Woo Anthology. So the admin team will drop that in. You can start thinking about what you've chosen. Or here we put on the slide, I choose health, right? Mental health, spiritual health and well-being, physical health and well-being. I choose that every day. What do you choose? So look at the form, fill it out this morning, and then we'll follow up with you so that we can actually receive more of a message that can be added to this powerful campaign. Thanks to all for listening. I choose to complete, and I welcome you to do the same. Peace.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Coach Shawnee. I'm going to ask support from my admin team to drop that link into the chat, and then we'll move on and share that the Woo swag store is still open. There is still merchandise, and so you are invited to check out the bit.ly that's showing here on your screen. Check it out, see what resonates, and go ahead and get your Woo swag while it is still available. Finally, thank you all so much for being here today. As I mentioned before, this community exists because of you. It exists because all of us come together. And so thank you for being here with us. These are the ways that you can stay in touch with us. There's a register link at the top, the bit.ly/wake up movement is where you can register for upcoming sessions. Our Facebook community pages are shown here. We have a private page and a public page. So you are invited to join, like and follow both. We are on Instagram, YouTube, and we have an email address for comments, questions, concerns, suggestions. So stay in touch with us. We need you, you need us. We are a community. At this point, I am going to stop sharing the slides, and we are going to love on our brother Kamau for his session today, for opening up new ways of thinking about ancestors and our own rituals that we may practice. And everyone is invited to unmute themselves and thank him.
Thank you, Kamau. Thank you, Kamau, for this great presentation.
Thank you. This was awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you. This
being
was
here
quite
with us and
Thank you, Purple, for
providing.
sharing.
Thank
Thanks
you,
and
Kamau. Thank
everyone
you,
else for sharing.
admin team.
brother. I hope
Thank
you
you,
you
brother
needed
Austin,
this
for being
was
part of this.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Brother
Well,
Kamau.
Sean,
And
thank you.
let's move forward,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Wonderful
Thank you,
session.
all the
Love for
family.
the Kamau. So much
Appreciate
love.
it.
Thank y'all.
Appreciation.
For
Your
what you
So
bring
history
to the
awesome. I really
space.
appreciate
powerful.
God bless you.
everyone.
Thank you
Divinely
Thank
for
you. I
anchored.
love y'all
your
very, very
history
much.
Something
Thank you.
ready.
Just
and
took us to
Everybody
another
bring
level,
such
brother.
profound
being
words.
disciplined
So beautiful.
as you
Another
are,
level. Ashe.
I love y'all. I
being
love
Love
y'all.
you, light.
powerful.
Love you, light.
Goosebumps.
Have a blessed day, everyone.
Thank you for all the healing
Thank
that's taking
Love you
place.
all.
For us
Thank you.
being here. Thank you for the growth. Thank you. Thank you for the powerful love that we receive here. Thank y'all. Mwah. Love y'all, family. Love y'all.
Have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you,
For the
Jedna.
power source that's here. Thank you, Sister Shawnee, for letting us, this beautiful Woo tribe, just grow and grow and grow. Without you listening to the spirit of Shamani, we would not be here. Thank you so much. Mwah.
Ashe. Family.
Peace and love.